Good evening, everyone, and welcome. Happy Wednesday night. I hope you have all had a fabulous day and you are getting ready to settle in and learn a little about kinesiology. So if you haven't joined one of my Facebook Lives before, or you're only fairly new to Queen of My Own Universe, hello, my name is Marg and I am the Queen of My Own Universe. July is Wellness Month for us here at Queen of My Own Universe. And why? You might wonder, why are we doing this? In the work that I do with so many women, I am often asked if I've got some advice or an opinion on some other types of therapies that they might like to try that could be helpful for them. Now, a lot of the women that I do work with come from backgrounds where they've experienced trauma, both capital T and little t trauma, throughout their lives, and also some backgrounds and some experiences in abuse. And they're looking for complementary therapy. So other than the work that they do with me, maybe some talking therapies that they've tried in the past, what else can they try to really heal from this trauma that they've experienced and move forward in their lives? So I thought, what better way to do this than to get together some of the amazing women that I know and some other fabulous practitioners and introduce both them and also their modalities. So what is it that they specialize in? How is it different? And how could it potentially help you as you work through your healing journey? So first cab off the rank for us tonight, I'm going to introduce you to the fabulous Meagan Arena. Meagan runs Kindred Kinesiology. One of the things I love about Meagan's approach to this is Meagan is actually a nurse, first and foremost, and now she's also a kinesiology practitioner. So I love her approach to kinesiology from also the traditional medicine perspective, not to mention the fact that she is a beautiful human being who I met through the Women's Spirit Project, and I'm delighted to have her on with us tonight. Now, if you are listening in and you've got questions, please do ask away. So Meagan and I have got some things that we're going to talk about. I'll bring her in just a second. If you've got some questions, pop them in the chat and we will answer them for you. And especially if you would like to obviously ask Meagan, because I know nothing about kinesiology. I learned all about it just last week. So ask questions as we go through and let's get started. Let's go and welcome Meagan to our chat. Hello, lovely.
Hello, how are you?
Hello. Welcome to Wellness Month with Queen of My Own Universe. Thank you so much for doing this with me. And I know that there are going to be some fabulous people who are really excited to hear what you've got to say tonight and learn a little bit more about kinesiology. So, as I mentioned at the outset, you're first and foremost, you're a nurse for many, many years.
Absolutely.
And now you've gone over into kinesiology. So maybe give us a little bit of your background and also tell us, having been involved in traditional medicine for such a long time, what was it that then led you into kinesiology?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Marg. I have been a nurse for 14 years and love being a nurse. Main thing is going into COVID with the stresses that nurses felt, also with the whole medical field. I was feeling stressed myself and the pressure. So I looked into other avenues that could help and support me. And I came across kinesiology and consulted a kinesiology practitioner, and the results just spoke for themselves. I just felt so grounded, so resilient, so much stronger within myself. And I thought there's more to me as a nurse and that I can also expand my career. So for 2 years, I studied kinesiology all through the lockdowns. And I've now evolved with myself, continuing as a nurse, but also opening my practice as a kinesiologist.
Fantastic. That's so exciting. And I think it's super powerful to know that this was something that helped you change your life.
Absolutely.
And you feel so passionate about it now that you want to go and use it to help other women to feel better in their lives. So a lot of people have probably heard about kinesiology. It's certainly something that is getting spoken about a lot more now than ever before. Probably a bit like me until you and I had a conversation, like, I don't really know what it is. So a lot of people are sort of, what is it? Help me understand it. So can you tell us, what is kinesiology?
So kinesiology is basically about studying the biomechanics of the human body and doing muscle testing to provide that biofeedback. And I can test for disease, misalignment, and just identifying a general state of health and well-being.
So when you say muscle testing, are we talking needles? Are we breaking things? Are we clicking things? What is involved in muscle testing?
No, so I actually become the biofeedback person. I'm doing gentle muscle resistance against you on certain aspects of your body that identify through to me where the imbalance actually is. So there's no needles. I do acupressure, but I do it with like a laser acupressure, no needle penetration at all. It's not painful. The only time you may feel a bit of discomfort is when the muscles are moving or the emotions are leaving the body, because we do a lot of emotional regulation and healing as well. And sometimes that can cause a bit of tension and tightness, but it's a good tension and tightness as we release that tension and let that go. And clients often say how, oh God, that was actually sitting in that uncomfortable has actually made me realize how I can transform with that.
Okay. So is that kind of saying that these experiences that we've had in our life, that we are still holding them in our body and you're able to identify them and release them through kinesiology?
Absolutely. And what you might think you're suffering from grief as a long withheld emotion, sometimes once we dig deeper into that and go through the biomechanics, looking at the amygdala, we can actually realize there's actually other morbidities and emotions that go with that you're probably not even aware of. And it's digging deep and bringing those up to the surface, acknowledging them, sitting with them, and then addressing them to resolve them, to actually let them go. So it's not often the one emotion that you think, whether it's trauma or grief or pain or whatever. Sometimes it's a collaboration of things that actually manifest and make the main symptom a lot worse.
Okay, fascinating. So you're going to do some muscle testing. We're going to do some light acupressure. We're going to release some things. A lot of the women that I talk to, particularly those with trauma backgrounds, they don't want to talk about their trauma. You know, the talking about it out loud and having to retell their story to somebody new, given they've, potentially seen other practitioners and therapists in the past. So is there a lot of talking involved in this, or how deep do you go, I guess, in a verbal sense other than the physical work?
So I hold sacred space for all my clients, and with their consent and their permission, we dig as deep as they want to dig. At the end of the day, I can be your cheerleader and I can support you and take you on this journey, but the clients need to do the work with me. And if they're wanting to open deep and everything's all confidential, we can do that work together to resolve some real deep traumas. And, they'll be amazed actually how much they're talking about it, bringing the uncomfortable to the forefront, and acknowledging that and addressing that actually resolves so much more than just what their original concerns are.
Okay, excellent. So is this a one session treatment, or is it an ongoing thing? What's I guess the therapy regime looking like with kinesiology?
It's like any alternative health practitioner, same as chiropractic care. You can go when you need it, or you can go as an ongoing maintenance approach. I like my clients to come initially when they come and they're in a state of despair and unease, that we sort of do fortnightly consults until they're feeling a lot more empowered within themselves, and they come for sort of tune-ups as long as they need it. So there's no set routine to it. There's no package. There's no commitment of any sort. It's I support you as long as you want to be supported, and we just take the time that's needed depending on each individual client. So, and I also offer in-clinic consultations, and I do mobile consultations. So clients that are feeling very emotional and not in a great headspace, or physically not in a great space, I can actually come to them and sit with them in an environment that they choose, whether it be their home, we sit down at the beach or a park, and we can have that consultation. It's all about supporting the clients to suit their needs, not suiting mine.
That's fantastic, because there are, for a lot of people, and especially after, that extended period of COVID lockdown, where they do still have some anxiety about leaving the house and going out. So I think it's quite unique that you would come to them. Or I love the idea of doing this out in nature, which is great healing in itself, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's where I differ with my services, that I can actually do that. And I want to do that, although I do have a clinic here at home. That's my main base, and we can also do Zoom consults too.
That's fascinating. So that's really curious. So how would you do muscle testing? So for those who don't know, so Meagan, you're based in Langwarrin, correct?
Yes.
Yep. So presumably, you would travel within a distance of that. But if there was somebody who you couldn't get to them, they couldn't get to you, or they chose to do this on Zoom, how would you do muscle testing online?
I know it sounds a bit tricky. So I use myself as a mediumship between myself and them and connect through. And I use muscle testing by doing it on myself while they're doing muscle testing on them to identify certain weaknesses and what areas need addressing. Preferably, I always like to do my initial consult, which is 1.5 hours face-to-face and person-to-person. One, we build a lovely sacred relationship and a trustworthy thing, and then preferably Zooms on after that if we need to. But depending on the situation, and if it's a crisis and they need to touch base, more than happy to do Zoom for the initial consult as well.
Fantastic. Love it. So what benefits? So let's say I come to you and, God knows I probably need to book a session with you.
You're more than welcome.
And we've got something that's there that we're looking to address. Talk me through typical session. What are we going to do? How's it going to go?
So there is no typical session. It all depends individually on the client, and that's what's so beautiful and special about kinesiology. It's not a textbook following on that every person, every session is the same. We have a little chat, see where you're at, what concerns are currently coming up for you, and then I like to dig a bit deeper into that and then sort of indulge a bit deeper, and then I often get you up onto the massage table, and that's where I do the muscle testing. Also from that, it's basically test, detect, and then rebalance and reset. So some clients need more of a mental stimulation and a bit of counselling with that as well. Others like the more holistic approach where I do crystal healing massage with acupressure points and things like that. So it's very, very individualised. Each and every consultation are never the same.
Fantastic. I love that you bring crystals. The crystals should come into everything as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely. Sprinkle magic everywhere.
I'll just have to break out those crystals if I come have a session with you.
Absolutely.
So at the end of a session, whichever approach that is taken, obviously based on the client's needs. So what benefits could they expect? So kinesiology sounds fabulous. You're lovely. How should I kind of expect to feel after, one or multiple sessions? What should I be looking to be feeling and some benefits?
So most clients turn around and say, I just felt so supported. I feel more in balance and realigned, more in control. So they're more being proactive instead of reacting to previous stimuluses that actually set them off into either whether it's anxiety or pain or emotions. And it's also just releasing those emotions and acknowledging the triggers. And patients or clients often turn around and just say, I just feel so more grounded and supported. And I also make intention sprays to go with that, which have got the special blend of the crystals and the essential oils. And they can use that as an ongoing thing to keep themselves nice and grounded.
Tell me about that again. Sorry, they're what?
So they're intention sprays. So I make up individual little sprays into bottles with selected crystals depending on what you're needing at the time, and appropriate aromatherapy oil blends, and I make that up. So you can take that home. So if you need, just say you're anxious, I can make like an anti-anxiety blend with supportive crystals for you. Or if you've got, your early pregnancy and you've got nausea, or you just need to de-stress, I can just do a de-stress blend as well. So I try, it's not just the consultation. I do offer things as well to complement that you can utilise at home as you're learning your self-care tools.
Fantastic. And now you mentioned pregnancy. So this is something that is safe for pregnant women?
Absolutely. And I do acknowledge and respect that people up front sort of say, and it's all in confidence, that, yes, they're early pregnancy, because obviously as a practitioner, I need to know that there's certain techniques and tools and oils that I can't use in the early stages, and also progressing into pregnancy as well. So I do ask that question when I do the initial consult, is there any chance you could be pregnant? Because that does change the whole approach.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. And do you treat men and women in your clinic?
I do treat men and women, but at the moment I'm more just sort of focusing on women and children, only because my main clinic is based at home and going out to the environment and to people's general places. So as I evolve and expand my business and get set up in an actual independent clinic, then I'll be actually expanding to men and males. At the moment, just focusing on women. I have a real connection with women going through a bit of trauma and stresses, and children. I love kinesiology with children.
Tell me about that, because as a parent, I mean, my kids are way grown up right now, but how can it help children, and how do you do that with kids? How do you get them to kind of engage in that process with you?
So basically, I just have to get down to their level and build that relationship with them. We do a lot of colour therapy, regulating your emotions, boosting their immune system by stimulating the thymus gland. We do tapping, we do just general talking as well. But also too, it's all about just establishing that relationship with them, because they might just be run down because their immune system is actually very weakened, hence why they're then having anxiety. So it's just sitting and quite often young clients, mums can often sit in the consults, but quite often they do till we get a report and then the mums step out, because the children will tell me things that they don't tell their parents. Mm-hmm. And everything's all in confidence, and I can relay that back to the parents that we're dealing with some things and how we're going to highlight that. But obviously confidentiality is utmost with everything.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's fascinating, because obviously at the moment, our children suffered a lot through COVID as well.
They have.
The disruption to schooling, no matter what age they were at. We've seen a spike in mental health conditions, for our children and our teenagers. And the waiting list to get to see a psychologist or, a therapist is months and months and months long. Now, that's not to suggest that kinesiology is, in all cases, the idea, or the replacement for, but to know that this is a potential alternative therapy that a parent could consider, that is gentle and non-invasive and safe for their child. I think that's super important for parents and mums in particular to know.
And as a practitioner myself, as a practitioner myself, I can actually collaborate and work with other practitioners, whether it's being, a GP or another specialist, mm-hmm. or your psychologist, and we can communicate and liaise and work out a treatment plan that's going to complement the unique individual.
That's fantastic, because it should never be in isolation, ever.
No,
this work is done separately. So what else should we know about kinesiology? What else should we know about you?
Oh, I just absolutely love kinesiology. Kinesiology has been a game changer for me. Just the trauma healing that can be done, emotional, mental, physical, it's just amazing. And how I've dealt with the last 2 years of massive changes in my career as a nurse, and also to moving forward, I just feel so grounded and so stable. And every time I consult a client, the benefit that I get from it as well is huge. And it's just that lovely respect relationship and having that trust. So we go from feeling like we're just surviving to absolutely thriving. And that's what I love about kinesiology.
Absolutely. That's the tagline for Queen of My Own Universe, is to go from surviving to thriving. So I am all about the thriving. Absolutely. Yes. Fantastic. So if people want to know a little bit more about you or get in touch with you, how could they do that?
So Kindred Kinesiology is my business name. I'm predominantly on Facebook. I'm launching my website very, very shortly. That's in the process of being created. And also I've got an Instagram page, _ Kindred Kinesiology as well.
Excellent. And we'll post all of that up on the Facebook page at the end of this. We do have a question. Tamara has just said, I have a question when ready. So Tamara, type away so that we can get your question in front of Meagan. And while we wait for Tamara to pop her question up, tell me a couple of your favourite crystals. What are they and why?
Oh, I've got too many to separate them. I have got an abundance. I just ordered don't tell my husband about another $400 worth of crystals the other day. But I actually warm up my crystals once they're fully charged under the moon, of course, and use those in my massage. And I'm actually quite jealous, because when I give that crystal massage to everyone, they just are in bliss. And yet I'm like, I want one myself. I think I need to go and have one to myself. But yeah, I love all the crystals. I wear them every day. I wear bracelets, just everything, just changing on what I feel I need for the day.
Fantastic. Love it. All right. So here's our question from Tamara. Mm-hmm. So if doing trauma therapy such as EMDR, when would this be best to do this in the process? So when would it be best to introduce kinesiology if you're doing some other trauma therapy?
So basically whenever the client feels that they need to have that bit of extra support. Sometimes with EMDR, with a psychologist, if you don't have that connection with them and to be able to open up and experience those emotions, which is emotional regulation, then I can really be a real benefit by coming in and holding that sacred space. I'm not a psychologist, I don't claim to be, but I'm very, very good at holding that safe space for you and actually helping you do the work with me prompting you. Whereas I find that a psychologist does a lot more chatting about things. So sometimes it's a very uncomfortable session with me because we dig deep into our emotions, but that's what I'm here for, is to support you, to bring out the tears if need be, with emotional regulation and with healing trauma. It's really up to a client when they feel ready, but I can complement at any stage of doing EMDR.
Okay, excellent. So the answer there would be anytime you're ready, Tamara. Just one last thing then. So you touched on emotional regulation, and obviously, for people coming and doing some work with you or some work with me, they're either at a very heightened emotional state, so the tears come very, very easily. I remember when I was in a really, really big state of overwhelm, like I could cry at literally nothing. And if I got through half a day without crying, it was like, wow, that was a good morning. I didn't cry. And oftentimes though, part of our protection method that we do when we're in trauma is we turn off some emotions. So we almost stop feeling. I know work with some women who can't even cry because they've just shut down all of their emotions. They've just numbed themselves to all of it. So how do we help them feel it? So we've either got those that are overfeeling, or we've got those that have forgotten how to feel to protect themselves. So can kinesiology help them reconnect to an emotion if they're feeling really quite numb?
Absolutely, and I can do that by the muscle testing too, to see what areas of emotions that they're actually depleted in. And as I said to you before, they might come and say, look, I'm suffering from grief or pain or loss or whatever. And then I can actually go, you know what, there's actually a bit of resentment going on in here as well, or there's a bit of guilt going on. And then once they dig deeper within themselves, they can go, oh, actually, yes, there is. And then we work through that, which then helps resolve the other aspects of their concerns with their emotions. Because quite often it's not just one emotion that has set us off, or one incident. It can be something from your childhood that you've never dysregulated or processed. So yeah, quite often it's a combination of a lot of things. And yeah, it's a sitting and the patient or the client being willing and ready to sit in that uncomfortable and be supported with that to move forward. I just see how far I've come and how grounded and positive I am after going through some pretty difficult situations myself. And I just think, wow, the benefits are just amazing.
Yeah, super. And look, I know there's only so much that I can do. The focus of my work is very forward looking. We uncover what's in the mindset that has, followed you all the way through your life, but it's not a healing from those deep childhood traumas or those traumas you've experienced on the way through. So I think to be able to have a client who's really looking to transform their lives, leave everything safely in their past and be able to let it go in a beautiful, gentle way with kinesiology, so then they can come back to a session and then go, oh, I've worked through that. I've literally let it go out of my tissues, out of my body. And now I can really take on board and imagine my next life, the next stage of the life I want to love and live. I'm ready, and I'm physically able to do that now. I'm mentally present and I'm physically present to be able to do that. I think that's an incredibly powerful gift that you give to women, and to all of your patients to be able to do that with them. Alrighty, so we've got a couple of comments here from Tanya. You're absolutely amazing, Meagan. Your support after my stroke was life-changing. No words can ever thank you enough.
Thank you, beautiful.
That's a pretty powerful endorsement from a client there. So thanks so much for that, Tanya. And thank you for your question, Tamara. And I will see you again soon, my love, and we can do some more crying. But in the meantime, maybe you're going to reach out to the beautiful Meagan here as well. So, all right. If nobody's got any other questions, Meagan, is there anything else that you would like to tell us before we wrap up tonight?
I just think too, by also complementing what I do with what you do, is by working deeper with me to get through those emotions and those barriers, then that they progress onto you with your mindset coaching. They'll actually get more out of it. They'll be in a better mind space, a better whole capacity of, what they're willing to do. and then they'll just thrive, absolutely thrive. So it's lovely to collaborate together.
Yeah, most definitely. This collaboration, this complementary therapies can actually help to fast track people's transformations and recoveries when you do multiple things at one time instead of things in isolation. So, and that's the whole reason why we're having these conversations in Wellness July. So,
love it.
Thank you so much, Meagan.
My pleasure.
That has been awesome. Thank you, everybody who has tuned in. And if you do watch this on the replay, you will also find I'll post Meagan's contact details up in our Facebook page. Stay tuned. We've got another one of these coming next week. So every week for the next couple of weeks, going to be chatting with a Reiki therapist is one of our other upcoming ones. And you go, what's the difference between Reiki and kinesiology and all these other different things? So Reiki's coming up. Going to be talking to a yoga practitioner who does a different type of yoga that you might not be familiar with. It's called Drew Yoga, and also trauma-informed yoga. So again, how can yoga help if you've got some experience in trauma? So we'll be chatting with the beautiful Becky around that. We're going to be talking all things Reiki and probably crystals, because we just can't help ourselves with the gorgeous Emily. And I'm also finalising getting somebody on to talk to us about all things meditation. So for all of you that have wanted to meditate, never been able to quite figure out how to do with it, we're going to go and blow up some of those myths that you have around meditation and help you to get started with that. If there are any other therapies as well, I guess that's the important thing. If there's anything that you would like to know about, please drop me a line, let me know, and I will go and find somebody fabulous who can come on and chat all things wellness with us here at Queen of My Own Universe. All right. Thank you so much, Meagan.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me. Bye, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great night, and we will see you all again soon. Bye.
Bye.